You are watching or listening to Purham and Associates. For more information, go to rpurham.com or follow me on all social media platforms and subscribe at RPURHAM. Thanks, and see you over there. Hey, good day to you. Well, good evening to you all. And welcome to Purham and Associates. I'm your host, Randy Purham. Hey, we got I guess we call it a special edition show for you all. And, you know, we're going to bring some different flavor today. I got my good buddy, Tiffani, with us tonight. And we're going to get into some things about, you know, relationships and stuff. We haven't touched on that in a while. And I know she got some things to get off her chest. I got some things to get off my chest. And so we're going to get into it tonight. So, Tiff, welcome back. It's been a few weeks. So tell us, how are things going in your neck of the woods? What's been going on?
Oh, so much. So much. You know, I'm in the senior community, right? So I'll tell you, the seniors are just as vibrant as any other group. I will say that. They very stubborn at times, want to be independent at times, don't care what's going on around you, you know, because remember I used to do this on the patio, and I'd get all the people who would say hi to me, and I'd have to say, you guys just let it happen, because, you know, they don't understand, right? Yeah. So it's a good thing. It's a good thing. I mean, you know, I learn a lot about people, and actually I started another business here because of them, and I realized there was a need. Yeah. So awesome. That's a good thing. What is Thank you. Business? So that's a good thing. I'm still consulting. It's, well, you know what? You know how I am. First of all, I do not like talking a lot about myself. You already know that.
She's very modest. You know, I can barely get stuff out of her at times, and so she's very modest. I get it.
No one can. I mean, I'm in a fishbowl here. You know, these people watch because they have nothing to do, right? Yeah. So let's say, since we're talking about relationships, I go out on a date. You know, I have to like almost creep in here at like 3:00 in the morning when I think everybody's asleep.
And then the window blinds like this. Look at her.
Right?
She's coming in.
No, because yesterday I went to a fabulous event, the Nigerian Association in Las Vegas, right, which is a organization here that's been around since, I think, 2008. 2008. And so, you know, I'm coming back, and I'm being dropped off, and my neighbor is just outside. She smokes, right? So she's out there smoking and looking and seeing who's driving by, and looking in the car. And I'm like, oh my goodness. Like, can I just have a regular, normal life here?
It's always the smokers. It's always the smokers that's nosy.
They are, because they're outside all the time.
Exactly. Smokers know everything. So if you want dirt, if you want 411, you want information on anybody and anything that's going on in your neighborhood, talk to the smokers. Trust me and believe me, they know it all. And you're right. You know, it was late, and she was out having her smoke, and she's observant, and she's looking.
It's 12:30 a.m. She should not even be out. You know what I mean? It's 12:30. I'm like, I try to miss that hour.
Nope.
I'm coming a little later.
Nope. The peak time to come home when nobody's looking is 4 a.m. Just so you know.
Right. No, I know. I try to get close to 4 a.m. But and obviously I'm here with my mom and taking care of her. So this is like trying to balance my life and care of her has been a very journey. Nevertheless, this is a new thing for me because I'm starting to get out and meet people and do things. So it's great though. Mm-hmm. But we're here to talk about relationships, aren't we, tonight?
Mm-hmm. Yes. So
pretty great.
So there's this thing that that's going on right now, and the Trump administration is trying to intervene a little bit with that, and it's a low birth rate in the United States, and the low marriage rate, and so particularly in the black community, ladies and gentlemen, I really hate referencing demographics like this, but for the sake of conversation, I'm going to. In the black community, there's a low marriage rate, but there's a relatively high birth rate, and that's contributing to the idea of, I don't need a man in the house, I can still have children, and the government's going to take care of me. So there's that dynamic, right? But then there's the dynamic of, what can a man bring to the table for me versus the other way around, like it used to be. What is a woman bringing to the table for a man? And so, in conversation the other day on Pastor Lowry's show, David Lowry, for ladies and gentlemen that's listening tonight, we did a panel about this about 2 days ago, so you can go back and check out that on the Truth Be Told network. And we talked. It was a very good discussion, and Dr. Nichols brought up some very, very salient points about how women today, they are so independent minded that they have this very high bar for men that's not realistic. You and I, we talked about this, some months back about Kevin Samuels and his analysis on relationships, and how women that are low on the totem pole, they have these very high standards. But now we're also seeing it vice versa with men. Men are having these really high standards for these low bar women. They're like, okay, yeah, you got 3 kids, you on, welfare assistance and whatnot. What can you do for me? What do you bring? What do you bring? What do you bring to the table? And it's like,
you can't even.
besides bringing food stamps to the table, I can't bring nothing to the table because I got 3 kids. I can't work. So
right.
So there's that dynamic that's going on, and I would say, outside looking in, because I'm happily married. Yes, 3rd marriage. I get that. Okay. Been in the military, 22 years. That tends to happen. But I look at it as this: we have to meet people where they are, and although you may have high standards in some degree, I'm not saying that you need to change your standards or eliminate your standards or whatnot. You have to be understanding of the situation that you're dealing with, and say, okay, can I compromise? And that's what relationships are all about: compromise. Can you compromise with the fact that this particular potential partner can bring something to the table, and it may not be what you want, but it's something that you may need. So, if she's on welfare and y'all get married, just know that that's out the window now. She won't qualify. So it's those little things like that we got to take into consideration. And so, for the black community, that's a high dynamic to deal with. Is for women that has kids, and there's an uncertainty of whether this man is going to stick around. So there is a disruption factor that they have to take into consideration. Like, okay, I get with this guy, he's making 6-7 figures, likely 5 figures. if she's living in a community where she's on welfare, it's probably 5 figures. But let's go out on a limb here and say he's making 6 figures somewhere, and
Okay.
And he's deciding that he's going to get into this relationship with this woman who is on welfare, doesn't have a job, has a bunch of rugrats running around and whatnot. Should she sacrifice everything she got going on and say, I'm going to risk it all and be with this guy and hope that he is willing to provide for my family, to make it his family? That's a question. And your thoughts?
Okay, so let me understand this. The woman's got 3 kids, and she's looking to be with a man who makes 6 figures or more, right?
5 to 6, yeah. Mm-hmm.
5 to 6. Goodness, because I've seen the opposite. You know what I'm saying? I've seen the opposite as of late. Lately, I could say that because you have a lot of women, and especially, like I tell people, do not underestimate the senior community, because you've got people who are retired at 65, 66 that are now looking to date, and they don't want anybody that has kids. They could be widowed, or they're, a lot of them are widowers, right? They don't want.
Yeah, we're gonna touch on that in a minute. So save that segment.
Okay, but I'm just trying to understand the mentality. And excuse me, I can't understand the mentality of a woman with 3 kids trying to be with a man who makes 5 or 6 figures. That's just hard for me, very honestly, to wrap my mind around it. Because I don't understand that mentality.
And that's what's going on right now. You got these women that are in this situation, and they're dismissing men who are genuinely interested in them. They may not know the entire totality of the situation or what they have going on, but they're just like, man, you're very attractive, I'd like to get to know you better, and this and the other. And so as time goes on, they may discover that they have kids and their living situation is Section 8 housing and all this stuff. And they're like, whoa, I didn't know all this.
Right.
You didn't tell me all this, but okay, maybe we can work something out here. Maybe we can be friends with benefits. Maybe we can be, maybe we can date and just see where things go, as, maybe situations improve, whatnot. There's that dynamic that's going on there. But the woman in this situation, she'll be like, well, you need to be able to pay my bills. You need to be able to take care of my kids. You need to be able to do this and that and the third before I move forward with you. And it's like, this is a lopsided relationship. I'm doing everything, and what do you bring to the table?
I agree with that. I agree with that.
And that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. It's like where's the balance?
It is lopsided. That part.
Yeah, there's a balance, because
he
can be like, oh, hell no. I'm out. It was nice knowing you. I'm going to go and talk to this. Yeah, I'm going to go holler. I'm going to go into the senior community and find me a sugar mama.
That's what they do. I'm serious. That's what they do. I am not kidding.
I know it. I know it. I've seen it. I'm not gonna say I know it. I fully understand.
And they could be 80 years old. They don't care if they're 30. Talking about, I love you. You're 30 and she's 80. What? Where's the love? I don't understand it.
In the will.
You know what I mean? It's the what?
In the will.
It's the will.
In the will. It's like, hey, what you signing over to me? The clock's
right. Exactly. Right. Yeah. Right. I get that. That's
the thing. That is the thing, though. And both dynamics, that is the thing. It's like, for a guy, he's like, he's analyzing this like, do I really want to, invest into this, knowing that this is a lopsided relationship? Yeah, she may be beautiful, she may be great in bed and all that, but do I really want to be bothered with all of this extra stuff when I don't have to? I could literally, either go to a college campus and get a nice young girl that's getting ready to graduate, and we could start fresh, type of thing in life together, new journey. Or I could go to the senior community and get that 65, 55 plus and be part of the AARP community,
Right. I'm so serious when I tell you this. I have a friend right now. She said she has 4 men that she got online. And I'm like, how do you guys do this? Like, I couldn't even do that. And she's like, the one she's talking to now, his wife died like 5 years ago, and he's an entrepreneur. Wait a minute, he's an entrepreneur. She's bringing something to the table too, but she's also, like excited that he's an entrepreneur and he has some kind of, I think it's a jewelry store. So she's really getting excited over here, right? Not that she can't bring anything to the table, but it's you know what I mean? Yeah. And then after a while, when your spouse dies, you want to get back into the game. You want to start dating. You want companionship. But for the welfare person, you kind of have to investigate opinion. How they got there or why they're there, because not everybody who's there has been there for 30 years, and I think it's true. If you take the time to understand how they got there, then it would broaden your insight, and then you might say, oh, okay, this is a doable thing now. Right. Yeah. No, but if you've been there for 30 years, it's kind of like
red flag.
Yeah.
Red flag. Your kid's off in college now. One of the kids is off in college now, and you still collecting, welfare. It's kind of like, what's going on here? The other two are like, teenagers. They can get a job, so it's like, well, what's your problem?
Right.
So, but
that's another thing, though.
Yes.
In this generation, they don't want to get jobs. They don't want to do anything. They don't. So you can have that scenario, and none of these. I know one personally myself.
I know people like that too. And the scenario in that situation, it's it becomes a dependency state, right? And so they're looking at it like, well, why should I? If I don't have to, why should I? And it's like, well, you're a burden on the system. And it's like, well, oh well, And so I think the government, that's where the government needs to take the current roster of recipients and do an investigation on every single one of them. Set up survey, folks. I'm not advocating, doing the Patriot Act type of stuff. But if this is what's going to make people go to work, I'm all for it. So I'm gonna say it like this: I'm all for the government saying, you know what, you come in and you reapply, and we will investigate. We're gonna let you know up front. We're gonna investigate you and see if you actually do qualify and meet the criteria to be on assistance. If you're not actively getting, doing job applications, or not even the volunteer stuff. The volunteer stuff, I don't even agree with that. I work. Right. You work. We still volunteer. So volunteering is not a criteria to get welfare. If it is, I need to sign up then, because shit. But 40-hour, 60-hour job, type of thing. Work from home, okay, fine, whatever. But you're actually a productive member of society, contributing and getting contributed to type of thing that actually qualifies. You're doing taxes and you're actually filing, income, and not filing a tax return because you have a bunch of babies. All of that needs to be, it needs to. But that needs to go away. Period.
But you're getting money. You're getting like $7,000, $8,000 per child when you file your taxes.
Criminal.
You know what I mean?
It's so criminal.
At the end of the year, that's what you're getting, and the government supports that. But the single paying tax person is at a disadvantage because they don't have those dependents.
Right.
They
I'm single, and you're right. If I'm single, or even if I'm married, but there's no kids, I'm not getting no child income tax, credit type of thing. The government should be giving me money, saying, "Hey, thank you for working, thank you for contributing.
Right?
Here's a bonus." Hey, President Trump, if you're watching tonight, sir, salute you. I need you to consider that, sir. That if you're
I think that would be a good idea.
If you are a working American, you get a bonus from the government, and there you go. And so, but that's how it should be. So back to the relationship.
Yeah.
Back to the relationship thing.
Yeah, no. I mean, these are all factors involved in a relationship when you look at the whole picture. right? Like,
and for the
what?
man, yeah. And to that point, though, I'm sorry. To that point, the man that's
No.
working, he won't be able to claim those kids necessarily unless the baby daddy is not in the
Right.
picture at all. Because there's that
Hmm.
dynamic of the baby daddy calls the baby mama and says, "Hey, it's my turn to claim the kids this year," type of thing. And
Right.
so, for the man that's like looking to get into this relationship, it's like, okay, you got these kids, can I claim them? Because I'm feeding them, I'm housing them, and everything else. Do I get a benefit out of this?
Only by marriage.
Yeah, there you go. And I was married, my second marriage, I brought on 4 stepkids. Could I claim them? Did I? That was out of pocket. That was a loss to me. I'm not complaining about it or anything, but I'm just saying that that was a situation between my current, not my current, but my spouse at the time and the children's father, and that was part of the child support agreement that
Hmm.
they rotate years of claiming the kids on the tax return type of thing. For child support. Now, mind you, he was behind on child support, but that's a whole other story. So I was kind of like out in the cold on that situation, and even the money that she did bring in for claiming the kids, it was still kind of like it was eaten up in everything else that we had going on in the year. So it was kind of like a net zero gain at the end of the day. So these are things that men need to think about when they're getting into a relationship with a woman that has children outside of them two. And a lot of them don't think about that until later on. It's like too late, and it's like, well, damn. So, is there a benefit for me here? And some guys don't think about that. Like me, I didn't think about that. I didn't care. It was like, I love you. I love the kids.
Well, you did it out of love. I think you did it out of love,
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
really the basis of everything is love. But
Right. Now that I'm older and
again,
I know better, I advise otherwise. So it is what it is. Men, do not do that shit. Okay.
well, I mean, but you can't help. The heart wants what the heart wants, and you can't. At that time, you can't rationalize that. And I think a lot of
agree.
men try to rationalize things.
Yes.
And that's another thing. You can't
Yeah.
rationalize when someone comes into your life who's, especially if they're, a bit to you. You're
Right.
mutually benefiting from each other. Yeah, I think that's great that somebody comes in your life that you can, build with and mutually do things together.
Mm-hmm.
So disregard that about what he said. Don't do it because the heart is the heart is another. It wants what it wants, and then until you figure it out and you know better, then you might do better, right?
Well, let's examine that though. And you're right. Guys, disregard what I just said. But consider this. Look at the dynamic in which if the children's father is either an active participant in their lives, meaning he's actually paying child support, he's trying to do things and and taking care of his kids, great. And y'all two can get along, because that's the other important factor too, is now you're looking at your co-parenting. It's like, hey,
Yes.
understand
Yes.
this, you're out of the picture, 24 hours out of the day, 5 days out of the week type of thing. I may have to, handle business, with these kids, type of thing. If you have that understanding, great. If not, that may be a problem. Because he may feel like, why are you saying something to my child? And it's like, well, because he's under my roof. You got a problem with it, put him under your roof. Type of thing. And I had those discussions. I had,
Yeah.
and we came to an understanding a few years later. But it was like, that was a turmoil. It was like, don't say nothing to my kid. And it's like,
Yeah.
they're under my roof eating my
Well,
food.
I
What the hell
believe
you mean don't say nothing to your kid? Like, you got your nerve.
right?
Like, last time I checked, did you pay for these groceries?
That.
Did you pay this rent? Oh, okay.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Oh, did you buy
But I believe that.
Did you buy their back to school clothes? Oh, no? Oh, okay. You might want to shut the hell up. And that's what you got to deal with. And so, but go ahead. You're right.
I understand what you're saying, and I also think that co-parenting can work if there's that communication.
Yes.
And a woman should not go to a man. And I will say this, as a single parent, and you're dating, it is not the responsibility of the person that you're dating to take care of your kids. That should be established with the dad. And I can say that because I have experienced that myself. There was never a time where someone said, no, they have a dad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That you having to take care of anybody was never a subject matter.
Right.
Because the dad took care of schooling, everything. Mm-hmm. So as far as I was concerned, there was no one to come in to take that place and assume responsibility for somebody who that was their responsibility.
Right. And to that point, if they do, it's not that they're assuming the responsibility, it's that they're adding to it. They're being an added benefit because they want to.
Exactly.
It's kind of like considered like a gift. Like, hey, okay, yeah, dad took care of that, but here's a little bit extra, or hey, you great job on getting good grades,
yeah.
or hey, I like that outfit, but let's get you a couple more. That stuff.
Right.
Cool. Now
I agree with that.
Yeah, it's not an obligation. It's not like, I feel like I need to do this type of thing. No, it's I want to because you cool. But if you're a little bratty ass kid, I'm like, your dad got it. Holler at you later. And me and your mom going out on a date. Don't lock the top lock. And that's it. Well, it is. I have relationships like that. So it is what it was. It was like, look, you're a teenager and you want to be grown. And so I'm going to treat you like you're grown. Your mom and I, we're together. I'm not dating you. So don't get it twisted thinking that I owe you something. Because at the end of the day, your dad is wherever he's at. And you can pick up the phone and call him. And y'all can handle that. So we're just dating. We're not married. So don't think that I owe you something. I don't know you from the next joke on the street. So don't think that I'm obliged to do something for you. Your mom and I in a relationship. I didn't sign no contract saying that I'm taking care of both of y'all or all of y'all. So, and it was, and mom was like, well, damn. So I guess you're not gonna take us to Target for to get some stuff for Christmas. Hell no. The hell no. I don't even take my kids to Target.
I get that. Right, I get that, but you know what? And again, men want a woman that has something to bring to the table. Right.
Exactly.
And that is a value. Because if you don't have anything, then no one's gonna be willing to meet you. Mm-hmm. And it's sad state of affairs, but it's the truth. When you don't have anything, people do not come around. You can't get anybody to do anything for you. But when you do have something that is of value to a man or vice versa, then it's easier for that connection to be made. It really is.
And to that point, I'm going to say this. Ladies, I'm talking to the women right now. Don't say that you could clean and cook when you're talking to a man that's in his 40s, 30s, 40s, even his 20s. Because he's in his 20s, he's probably used to getting pizza and ramen noodles. 30s, 40s, he's probably used to going out to a restaurant, nice restaurant here and there. He may grab Burger King on the way home. He may be able to cook. So when you say you could cook and clean, that is not a contributing factor to a relationship at that age. I'm just going to be honest with you. Because it's like, is that all you bring to the table? Like, I can call Molly Mays, or I can get one of these chicks down the street and pay them $100 to come mop my floors, and not be bothered, and it is what it is. And I may be able to get them to do something else, in conclusion with that. So, what else are you bringing to the table? So guys, that's something to think about. But ladies, don't think that that's a selling point that you can cook and clean, because at that age, that ain't enough. Like, are you bringing in finances to the table? Are you going to help balance my life, my work life schedule? Are you going to, maybe help me with, running a business? Are you going to
Exactly,
be on the
things like
lookout
that.
for, yeah, are you going to look out for my, my portfolio and help it grow it, type of thing? That's
Yes,
what I'm looking for. If you ain't talking
right.
about any of that, you want something I can cook it clean. I'm like, I can too, man. Nice knowing you. I'll holler at you later. You want to come over for dinner? So that's what it is. And so, but yes, and in a relationship, especially one where a woman is independent minded and she feels as though she doesn't need a man for anything.
Hmm.
What would preclude them to say finally, okay, I'm going to deal with a man aside from the sexual stuff? But I'm just saying, like, actual companionship, relationship, that dynamic. What would break a woman down to finally say, okay, I need a man?
Because you're out of balance.
Okay.
And
Balance. What does that mean?
when I say out of balance, now I will never say that I'm so independent that I don't need anybody, don't want anybody. Now, I will say that my mother's like that. And in her generation, independence is key. They don't care. You know what I mean? They don't care if they have anybody. She's like 80 something years old. So, I mean, she's one of those people that I looked at and I'm like, do I really want my life to be this way? Upset, mad, I don't have companionship, and there's no balance to this. So I believe in balance in all things, and especially when it comes to relationships, because there's certain things that I don't want to do. Can I do them? Of course. Have I done them? Of course. But a man is a protector. He's a provider, right? Let him do what he likes to do.
Yeah.
In my do you understand what I'm saying? I really believe that. I don't want to have to build a house. I don't want to have to do the things that a man does. Do you understand? I'm independent. Yes, I am. But there's, to a certain degree, I want a man to be a man and do the things that he likes to do that I don't really have to do. I don't want to have a security guard 24 hours a day because no.
I'm laughing because you said building a house and all that. Now we're talking about cultural gender norms, right? Is it really a man's responsibility to build a house?
No, you know what I'm saying.
Is it a man's responsibility to change your tire, or change the battery in the car?
No, I mean, no, look, that's what AAA is for. You get AAA, you've changed the tire.
But no, but still, it's still a man doing it though. 9 times out of 10.
AAA, that's why we got AAA.
But it's still a man. Either way.
Well, no, he's hired. He's hired to do that. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
No, he's hired to do that.
It's still a man, though. That's the point.
He's hired to do that. But I know I've been in a relationship that I had to call AAA because he wouldn't fix the tire. But then after he couldn't fix the tire, and I figured out that AAA could, then what was his role was.
I understand that. But my point is, we're still talking about a man doing the job. So is it necessarily the man's responsibility to do these things? And that goes back to the gender norms I was just talking about. So now, don't get me wrong, being in the military 22 years, women change tires because I made them change tires. I made them pull the engine out the truck. Because it was like, hey, this is an equal opportunity, employment. Just because you're a woman don't mean you sit on your ass. So get that wrench and get to work. So that's that world. But I'm just talking about in a normal civilian everyday world. Should a woman expect a man to do the things that she could possibly do? Maybe he's at work. Maybe he's tired. Maybe, he has a head cold and he just don't feel like doing anything. He just want to lay up in the bed all day. And the tire's flat on your car and you got to go to work at 8 a.m. What is stopping you from getting your ass out there and change that tire?
That's why I'm coming from a woman of enterprise. AAA works. I am a capitalist at its Come on, that's why we got all these businesses out there.
I
Call
got you.
AAA,
Yes.
call
AAA,
you know what
yes.
I'm saying?
But
You cannot. Sometimes you cannot rely on the man that's sleeping next to you because he's tired,
right.
whatever. It
Exactly.
won't come,
So
whatever.
I'm the type of person. My wife and I we joke about this because matter of fact, I'm gonna give a real life example of what happened here. This was just last week. Last week, she went to work. And I know she's gonna watch this. She's like, I can't believe you brought this up. But last week she went to work, right? And her she got to work and everything was fine with the car. She mentioned to me on her way to work. She was like, the car was acting a little funny on the way. And I said, like what? She said, I don't know. It's kind of like making this little clicking noise. And I said, okay. I said, well, we can run about the shop, tomorrow or whatever. I run about the shop when you get home, type of thing, and get it checked out. And she's like, okay. But later on that night when she went on break. She called me. She said, "Hey, the car won't start. I knew something was wrong. It was just acting funny. But it won't start. It won't turn over. It won't do anything." And I was like, "Okay, I'm on my way." And so she's 15 minutes away. So I got out there to the job, and I popped the hood, and I saw immediately what the problem was. The battery cable was loose, so it was like almost off of the battery. So it just worked itself, off. It wasn't tight, and so I pushed it down and the car started right up. And she was like, wow. I said, you didn't think to check the battery cable? If it's like nothing going on with the car, you think they... And she was like, go home.
Okay, now here's
to her point,
she could have been tired. She could have been tired. She probably didn't want to deal with it.
To her credit,
been at work.
Right, to her credit.
Yes.
To her credit, I acknowledge that, okay, you weren't probably thinking about all that. I get it. You just not expecting, the battery cable to be loose. But, I as a man thinking like, what if I wasn't around?
Again.
And it's the middle of the night.
There's so many services that you can call. No, and I'm this is a true life experience.
I agree.
I have a pastor friend, right? And her husband, well, no, the husband is a pastor and she's a doctor of, I forget, theology or something like that. I can't remember she got her doctorate in. But anyway, so she's at work and he had bought a car that she told him not to buy because it was going to have a lot of problems. So he did anyway.
Yeah.
And one day she's at work and he calls her and wants her to come and pick him up off the side of the road. Of course, because the car broke down.
The car broke down.
You know what she said?
I told you.
Call AAA.
Oh, okay. There you
go.
For in a situation like that, I would have been pissed. I'd be like, okay, I could call AAA, yeah, but you're supposed to be my ride or die. You're supposed to be there for me.
No, it goes. Oh, wait. It goes both ways. It goes both ways. The ride or die gets behind out of bed.
Yeah,
I don't care about that.
If I'm calling you in the middle of the night and I said, babe, I'm stranded, don't tell me to call an Uber. I'm calling you. Yes, I know I could have called a damn Uber. I could have called a cab. I could have walked. But if I'm
wait.
I'm looking for comfort. I'm calling my babe.
You're looking for comfort, but you're also putting her in danger at 3 a.m. You're putting her in danger now. She's got to go out of her comfortable existence, safe existence, to come and who knows what happens at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Okay.
You're a protector.
Right, and I'm in trouble. You're
supposed to maintain her safety.
I'm in trouble. And if I want my wife to come into my rescue and to my aid and comfort at 3 a.m., I'm expecting to get your ass out of bed and come to my aid. Because guess what? At 3 a.m., back in the day, you wouldn't worry about your comfort and your safety because you was at the club at 3 a.m. So, yeah, no, get your ass up and come get me.
But wait a minute.
So we can talk about it going home.
This is current every day. Here's the thing. You have advanced in life. You have made more money. Now you can appreciate more things because you have access to more things. And you know what? Most of these men nowadays, Do not change tires. They will call AAA, or they'll call an Uber for you. They'll do
True.
something like that.
True.
But they will not change the tire.
And I find I take issue with that, believe it or not, because for me that's part of the courting system. And ladies and gentlemen, you probably don't even know what I'm talking about here. The crowd that's in our age group, you understand what I mean here. But the courting system is where you do something that you know you normally wouldn't do, but you're doing it to impress the woman, to show her like, yeah, I can do this, So I'm gonna sweat and I'm gonna get dirty and I'm gonna get these blisters on my hands and I'm gonna show my woman that I can change a tire, in the middle of the night with this phone light on my phone, type of thing. You're gonna do that. You should be doing that. Versus, oh well, babe, damn, that sucks. Hold on, let me call up some folks and get this taken care of. Man, get your ass. And so I get that, and that's the generation we're in now. Because most guys, they wouldn't even know where the jack system is in a car. And I know I've seen this. See it on the highway all the time here in Austin. They don't know where that stuff is. They're like, did it come with that? Oh my God, where is it? Where is it? And it's like, there's this compartment in the trunk. Hit that button and it opens up and there you go. There's a spare tire right there. And it's crazy to me that we have evolved. I can't even say it's an evolution. I think it's a devolution. It's a devolvement of society that men don't know how, the modern day men. And
yes,
for those who's going to take offense to what I'm about to say here, I don't care. The beta males, they lost touch with what it is to be a man, and say, you know what? Okay, the tire is a little low. Let me go put some air in it. They don't even know that. They're like, oh well, let me run it by the auto shop, and the guy pulls out the air holes and airs the tire. Says, there you go, have a good day. Because the weather's changing. If it's getting colder out, your tires are going to deflate a little bit. And I'm seeing lines at Jiffy Lube for air. Because they don't know that you can just put air in the damn tire. They're thinking like, oh, somebody came by and let the air on my tire. It's like, nobody cares about you like that. You're not special. It's literally, it just got cold outside. So that's the stuff that we're dealing with. And for a woman that sees that and says, you know what, wow, he's sorry. He doesn't even know how to put air in his own tire. So what can he do for me if there's really trouble? And she's absolutely right to have that concern. And for you, Tiff, you're kind of like in that same boat. It's like you're so independent that you know to call AAA. You know to call Domino's because you don't feel like cooking. you got it.
Or I'm going to call Uber Eats. I'm going to call DoorDash. Yeah. I'm going to call someone to get some food. Right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's
I'm not gonna be without.
Right, you're not gonna be without. And so that and I want to spend these last few minutes on this segment here, on this topic. The woman that's independent and doesn't want to really deal with a man because the man is sorry, but she needs a man for that moment. Now, this is I would say a late evening show, so we can get into this a little bit. So.
Okay.
So for this goes both ways, guys and gals. For guys and gals, we used to have this era called, you're dating somebody but you're not dating them, friends with benefits. A side piece, or a friend in need, whatever label you want to put on that. There's that dynamic, and so. You're laying in bed and you like, man, it's like 10 o'clock. I can't really sleep. I'm kind of like wide awake. Let me see what's up with this person. And you're like, you start going through the phone, dialing up, texting folks like, hey, what you doing? What's up with you? This and the third. Does that still happen today, or have that generation died off and we just said, you know what, the hell with it? We're too old for all that. We're just gonna take some Ambien and go to sleep.
I think the younger generation is into doing that. I mean, they go out, and do that kind of stuff. They'll go through their phone book, or they'll, whatever they do, go through their phone to select somebody that they know might be up, and then all of a sudden they show up at the door. But you got to think about that too. You just don't want somebody, of course, maybe it's somebody you've been knowing for a long time and you want to sleep with them and, have that kind of intimacy. That's fine. You know what I mean? I don't judge anybody. If that's what you want to do, then that's what you want to do to create that experience. However, you got to be careful, we can get really deep into this because it gets into a spiritual level, and you letting people in that you don't even know, and you're dealing with stuff that you all of a sudden woke up the next day and like trying to figure stuff out. It's really important that you know, first of all, who you are, know that you have the ability to do anything that you want to do, but also respect yourself in that process. Now, I'm not saying anything is wrong with that.
Ooh. Go ahead, continue. I got something on that.
Okay, I'm not saying that it's wrong by any means to call somebody up in that hour because that's what you want. But you got to realize why you're doing it. Are you doing it out of need because you're desperate, because you have to, and you don't respect yourself enough, and you don't know yourself enough, and all that kind of stuff? It's an internal process. You got to be willing to do that. Now, I've had those moments. Now, there have been times where I have made that call at 2 a.m., but then I'm like, why did I make that call? Because, you know what I mean?
This is an hour drive. By the time you get there, you're out of the mood now. You're like, man, look, hey, I'm sorry I bothered you.
Right. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, man, but it works better when you're out at 2 a.m. and you had a couple drinks. That works better, but to call somebody and you're resting and then somebody's got to get out of bed and come see you and you got to open up the door and all. Okay. That's good sometimes too. But
I got back in my dating days, I had gotten calls. I'm not bragging or anything, ladies and gentlemen, but I'm just stating some facts here. I've gotten calls like that, and I talk to them on the phone like the entire time, or I try to make sure that is what it is that they wanted to really do. It's like, I'm not gonna get out of bed and get dressed, or take a shower, get dressed, and and do all that preparation and drive, maybe 15, 20, whatever the time frame is, and get there and then nothing happens. I'm liable to whoop your ass. So I'm just saying, because it's like I was nice and comfortable, I was cool, chilling, and you come bother me, and now I'm expecting something, and you ain't down no more. What's the problem? So that requires communication. It's like, okay, if you want some company, and I'm gonna say it like that, if you want some company, just say that. Don't say you just trying to bang so you can go to sleep, type of thing. It's like, if you want some company, say that, because by the time I get there, you might change your mind, you might not be in the mood. I would respect you more if it was like that, because if I get all the way over there and then you're like, oh, I'm not in the mood no more, I'm gonna feel some kind of way, because it is what it is. Not that I'm expecting to do something, but it's just like, I went through all of that just to hang out.
All the preparation.
I'm coming to hang out with you at 3 a.m. Like, no, we're not doing that. Like, we could have did this shit.
Right. Yeah, it's not. You're not having coffee sitting down.
Right. So there is some expectation management going on here. So if you just call me and say, hey, look, I'm just feeling a little lonely. I would really appreciate your company. Tonight. Type of thing. Okay, cool. Now it's on me to manage the other side of that when I get there. It's like, okay,
but they're calling you for that.
Let me give you a massage. Let me pour you a drink.
That's what that's about.
Yeah, let me put on some music. And boom.
I mean, how can you say that you could be disappointed when you know that the initial call was made for that purpose? You can't be mad.
Well, I could, because if I'm already got it in my head that that's what you're calling me about, is you want to get put to bed. I put it like that. You want to get put to bed, and then I'm that's in my head, is that's the only reason I'm coming over here, is because you want to get put to bed, and whatever happens after that or before that, okay, cool, it's fine. But if I get there and then you're like, oh, nah, I just wanted to watch some TV and just talk, and then it's like, but you just said you wanted to get put to bed. Oh, I changed my mind. I'm not in the mood. And it's like, see, you're playing with me because I had it in my head. Now, like I said, the other way around, it's like, hey, I want some company. I know it's late, or early or whatever. But do you mind coming over? I can manage that. Then it's like, okay, bet. I already got it in my head. Something may happen, something may not, but I'm agreeing to be disappointed. So versus getting there and being disappointed, and wasn't expecting that. So there's a difference there. But to your earlier point, and that's why I said, I got something on that. Respectability, it goes.
Is that even a word, respectability?
It is. It actually is. Respectability, yes. So it goes like this. We, and ladies and gentlemen that's listening tonight, you're probably like, okay, this is getting good. Although it's already good. But it's going to get better. A guy is expected to sleep around with a lot of women. They're just kind of like the nature of the beast type of thing, quote unquote here. But for a woman that does that. But for a woman that does that, they're looked at as being a hoe, or being a floozy, or whatever term you want to use from whatever generation you're from. But to me, it's kind of like apples to apples. It's like you can't expect a woman to be all this virtuous person, and the guy not to be, especially if they're in the same age bracket. They're from the same demographics of city life, urban life, whatever the case is, rural life. They just came up the same, but you expect her not to have a body count, but it's okay for him to have the body count. so I look at it like like this. It's like, how did you get there? That's the respectability factor that I look at. Is if you just went, relationship to relationship, but it was like a relationship and it just didn't work out type of thing. Okay, cool. But if you just like put yourself out there like every day, like any guy that comes along or any gal that comes along, there's a difference to me. Anyways, I want to get your thoughts on that.
That's true. There is a difference. I think there is a difference. I think that, and it's really funny we are talking about this because an attorney friend I know, he disputed that very same argument in a thesis when he was in school. He went to Cornell University, and that was his thesis, was the topic of just that, calling a woman a hoe. She's doing that and not really saying that for a male. And he proved his point, and it was well, received, to the fact that the professor said, why don't you write a book about it, based on his thesis. Yeah. So I think, and it's true, it's, there's so many standards in today's world, and that have been when it comes to male and female. And actually, as I was at an event yesterday, we were talking about how powerful women are. And for so many years, for thousands upon thousands of years, even maybe, we'll say millions, if actually, that women were never looked upon as anything. We're always looked upon as the ones that do everything. But the reason why is because we are the most powerful, and you got to understand that. Reading, writing, and I've written a book about this, so I could talk about it, was developed by women. Why? Because we had kids. Susie went off to another city. She did something else, but she provided milk. Oh, well, we got to contact Susie because we need the milk for the babies. So a lot of stuff was developed by women and created by women, and for some reason, it just got lost in translation and got lost over the years as in terms of how powerful women actually are. Yeah. So when you look at a woman and say, oh, she's doing it. Yeah, if she's getting paid for it, she's doing it with some integrity, at least, because she's getting paid for doing the whole.
I'm gonna stop you right there. I'm gonna stop you right there real quick on that thought. So people say that guy in the prostitution world, right? That I know if they catch flack for saying this, but this is the truth. when you look at it like this, they say, a guy paying a woman for sex, whatever, that's prostitution, this and the other. I'm like, well, okay, yeah, that's prostitution, quote unquote, right? Okay, but what is it called when you're taking care of a woman but you're married to her? And it's the same thing. you just own it.
Right. That's just a certificate that you got.
It's a perspective, right? And so I not to say that I'm not condoning prostitution or anything like that in that nature, but I'm just saying, like, when you look at the dynamics of what's going on here, you got a woman that sits at home all day and she cooks, cleans, she doesn't have a job, and you're providing everything and whatnot. It's basically the same principle. It really is when you break it down like that, so it's like, okay, I got in-house, quote unquote, ass, versus I'm going out on the street paying for it, and and it's just for 5 minutes. it's really no different in that dynamic, in that regard. But it goes back to, a woman actually bringing something to the table, y'all having a balance, y'all communicating, y'all contributing equally to the relationship one way or the other and whatnot. There's a difference. Go ahead.
There is.
I just want to throw that out there.
See, a man is the provider, protector. The woman is the creator. But when they merge, it is, oh my goodness! If you do it in the right context, as God has said, this is going to be, then you have the most magical moments. Now that creation, that creative process that people talk about between man and woman and God is actually activated, meaning that he can go out. She's given him ideas to go out and do something, right? He does it. He makes more money, but it was her idea. Or you guys talk about things, and she's actually the creator of a lot of things that are being birthed between the two of you. So essentially, the woman's really not coming empty-handed if she understands her power, which I've expressed, and her creativity, because that is exactly her role. That is the role, to be creative, to support a man with your thoughts. But see, a lot of men want to take the credit and say, oh, I had this epiphany yesterday and this is what happened. No, give credit where credit is due. Well, don't take credit for something that ain't yours, because it wasn't yours. It was not yours to begin with.
Yeah.
But that if you use your power in the way that it's supposed to be, creatively, now you're bringing something to the table, because without your ideas, he can't go do what he needs to do.
Yeah.
And a lot of the stuff that's,
Yeah, and you're 100% right. And I give shout out to my wife, because she is so subtle with her creativity with me.
You have to be, because if you kind of put it in your face, Randy, you'll be like, nah, I'm not. No.
Yeah, and that's me, and she knows that. So I will sit there and say she's like totally disconnected from like what I do for a living, right? So, but she's thinking about it, and she's listening. And so when I say something, and I'm like just ranting, and I'm going on and on and on and on, and I'm like, okay, this is what I'm going to do, and this is why I'm doing it. And then I have the whole plan laid out. She'll say, well, okay, that's cool, but why don't you do this? And she'll say it, and I'm like, oh shit, I didn't think of that. She's like, I know, you're welcome. And she'll walk out the room. I'm like, God damn it. and so that was her creation, that was her baby right there. And she'll be like, and so I'm like, why don't you, come on board? And she's like, no, I'm not, no. She said, that was just that tidbit, that's it. I'm go have fun, go away, and so, but that, and you're right, women bring that type of balance to the man who is headstrong like me. I'm very headstrong. I'm very like, once I put a laser on something, that's it, and there may be a deviation here and there, just depends on how the wind is blowing. But all in all, once I have my eyes set on the target, that's the target, and that's it. But every night, you need that woman who knows how to get in front of that target and say, "Are you sure you want to do that?"
Exactly. Exactly.
And look at it this way, and you're like, "Okay, honey, Got it. That's
And we're
that.
so supportive of it.
Yeah, it is.
And we have to be so, and the thing is, it's like we have to make it so that it seems like it's your idea. You know what I mean? Like, that's what we do. And we've had to do that for so long.
It's like you just had,
right?
It's like, honey, you just had to think about it a little longer. And I'm like, that wasn't my idea.
Right. No, seriously, even like
that was yours, but okay.
The person I'm dating now is to suggest. It's a suggestion. It's not you have to do it, but it's a suggestion. But you know what? Those things really inspire men. I will say that. When you come with that type of value and you can inspire a man, he is so impressed. Now he's thinking like, oh, okay, he's changing the trajectory of what that situation actually looks like.
Right. Correct.
So
you're absolutely right about that.
Don't, even if you're on welfare and you got 3 kids and all that, I mean, that's okay.
You bring some value.
You do bring some value to the table, and that's the connection between men and women.
And to your earlier point, and this is not to rag on people that's on welfare, ladies and gentlemen. Please don't take it this way. We're just having fun and joking about it, but to their expense. But to that point, though, on a serious tip. Just because you're on welfare doesn't mean that you're not of value. It doesn't mean that you can't bring something of value to the table. What it is, though, is that for a man who is of value, who is bringing a lot more to the table, there is something to consider. Like, okay, should they get into this situation, and is it beneficial for both parties, for either party, to be in that situation? It's not to say that the woman that's on welfare should find a man that's a bum and doesn't have anything going on in his life and she's feeling like she's a superpower in the relationship. It's not to say that either, because you have that dynamic going on as well. And
that's true.
And I'm setting it up for the next conversation because we're out of time tonight. So, Tiff, share your final thoughts, and we're gonna revisit this subject again next week.
Oh my goodness! Well, you know what? This has been a fun show because we used to do this before, and we did a couple years ago. So we kind of revisited the idea, but there's so many different dynamics to relationships that people really don't understand, and I hope that we just at least guide you in a direction to make you think about your personal relationship. We might share some of our experiences. We might share things that are currently happening with us, but ultimately it's your decision. Now, I'm a person of no judgment. I don't judge people. I don't care where you come from, what your background is. I just want you to be the best version of yourself. And I guess that's what we try to do here. So, really, do the work, the internal work to find out who you are, and then that person will really come. But you got to do the work yourself and understand who you are, and then the rest shall follow. But I think this is great. I think we had a good time tonight.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. No, I love it. And we haven't done a night show in some years or so, but this is great, and I think the audience tonight will appreciate this. Heading to bed, especially the couples, the whether they're married or dating, they're heading to bed. This is going to probably be a discussion. If they're watching this, they're like, you know what, honey, what are your thoughts on this? And it could lead to divorce. I don't know. I'm not we want you to communicate. Yeah, we want you to communicate. We want you to communicate. That's the ultimate goal here. Communicate, express those thoughts, express, how you feel, and be like Tiff just said, be the better version of you. Be the you, and appreciate what you have, appreciate who you're with. And that's the ultimate goal here. And we're not trying to tear apart relationships. We're not trying to destroy marriages and none of that stuff. It's to develop and get to that next stratosphere of life. And so that's the whole goal here tonight, folks. So, Tiff, thank you so much. This was fun. We're gonna pick up again next week on that last note.
Yes, we are.
And we'll catch you soon.
Okay,
All
thank
right.
you.
Yep. Talk to you soon. Ladies and gentlemen, Tiffani Jones. Hey, look, that that's what it's all about. Seriously, it's just bringing bringing the truth to the forefront about relationships, because there's so many different dynamics in relationships, so many different quandaries, and so many different conundrums, if you will, situations and whatnot. And it's about navigating through all that and saying, okay, you know what, I could be with this person or not, or they could be with me or not, or we could be together or not, type of thing. And there's those little nuances that you got to consider. And that's what it's all about, is working through it, communicating, talking, and being upfront and honest and saying, okay, hey, look, this is what I'm bringing to the table. What are you bringing to the table? Think about it, sleep on it one night, get back at me at 2 o'clock in the morning. When you're feeling a little lonely, but no, seriously, it's those little things there that we got to work through, and that's how you develop a relationship. That's how you develop that life partner, is because you took that time to do that. And we've gotten away from that in society. And yeah, we started off talking about the black community, but this transcends all communities. This transcends humanity. And that's what we need to get back to, is we're looking at things from the perspective of humanism and saying, like, how are we designed? What are we intended to do? And that's what we're talking about tonight, folks. And we're going to pick it back up again next week. So, folks, if you enjoyed that, and whatnot, I appreciate that. Appreciate you and that. And don't forget, go ahead and contribute to the GoFundMe for my book project, Give Send Go Book Project 2025. That's the name of it, givesendgo.com/book project 2025. And that is coming out pretty soon here. Polarizing America, a dichotomous society, written by me and only by me. So, folks, I appreciate your support and doing that, and support the show and whatnot. Tomorrow I will have Sam Anthony on, CEO and founder of YourNews.com, and we're going to get into some things that's going on with social media, his company, and what's going on with the censorship and all that good stuff. So, folks, keep it locked right here, and see you then. Oh, don't forget, download the Let the Truth Be Told app. And that is where you can find all of our content of all of the hosts on this network 24/7. And you can get caught up on the shows that you may have missed, or shows that you didn't know existed. And so, folks, with that being said, I think I'm done promoting everybody and everything. And we're way over time tonight. But that's okay. That's okay. This is fun. I love it. All right. Talk to y'all later. Be safe and enjoy a fantastic, phenomenal week. And I'll catch you all tomorrow. I hope you enjoyed today's program. You can follow, like, share, subscribe on Spotify, Substack, Rumble, YouTube, Facebook, and Your News. And also, you can download Let the Truth Be Told app on your favorite streaming platforms, such as Fire Stick, Apple TV, and Roku. Take care. God bless.